my summer vacation, I had decided that I would get into touch with nature and also try to get into better physical shape at the same time. So on a particularly sunny Tuesday morning, I hopped into my car and drove down to the countryside for a walk, where I could do both of these things at the same time. Just as I hopped, the weather remained present once I reached my destination. Clear blue skies without a single cloud in view. Vast hills of green grass as far as the eye can see, only a few clusters of tall trees scattered about the hilltops. And when I looked out far enough to the horizon, I could see sparkling blue sea stretching on for what seemed to be an infinity. I love the city, but hell, this place looked very amazing. Still, I get the feeling the novelty would wear off quickly if I stayed around for too long. I set off walking, heading up for the nearest and the steepest hill before me. The fresh air was bracing and clean compared to what I'm used to in the city. The sweet sounds of nature filled my ears, from the distant chirping of birds into the whistling winds that faded in and out of earshot regularly. The place was so serene, but despite the beauty of it all, I felt uneasy. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it just seems to be strange to be the only human being around that you know. There's a sense of isolation and the feeling of back of your mind that nobody would be around to help you if something was to happen. Despite all this, I pressed on, walking up the hill until I was walking through one long cluster of trees. There was growing stretch in the air, and that I noticed more and more as I progressed up to the side of the long hill, the smell of decaying leaves. But there was a faint hint of smoke in the air. Smelling that made me a little nervous, but I brushed the thought aside. Hell, some plants probably smell like that naturally, and I hardly know either way. As I walked through the trees, the wind blew up again, and I heard the faint noise of singing. It grew louder and louder over the span of a few seconds, and then it suddenly died down entirely. And then I heard a voice, a sweet and soft voice that sent chills down my spine for some reason. "Hello there. What brings you out to my neck of the woods?" I turned quickly, half expecting to see some fucking leather-faced-like monstrosity, and to my surprise, it was a woman standing before me, a rather attractive one at that. She was a little on the short side and somewhat skinny, and her skin was strangely pale. Her hair was black and curly, and a little frazzled in some parts. "Oh, just going for a walk. I didn't mean to intrude on you, miss." "Ha. Don't worry about it. It's nature. You can do and go where you please in these parts. Nobody owns this part of the hill." Part of me felt uneasy. This woman just told me. Whoever she was seemed to just teleport in, and not a single sound indicated her approach. Maybe the wind drowned out the noise, but, well, there was no signs of footprints anywhere either. "So, I take it that you like here?" It's a really stupid question to ask, but I was nervous at the time and just blurted it out. I asked her if she liked it here. Thankfully, the mysterious woman was kind of an individual and didn't mock me over the stupid question. "Sure do. I was born and raised in this part of the country. Feels like I've been here forever." That sickly scent grew a little more intense in my nostrils, and I tried my best to suppress my disgust at the smell. I'm not alone, though. I have a husband and a daughter, and we're always eager to meet new people, she added. The more I looked at this woman, the more ill she began to look. Her eyes became more and more sucking in whenever I looked at them, and I began to notice a few cuts, bruises, and burns along her arm. Had they always been there? Had I just noticed them and not before? Well, that's good to hear. Family is important, and I replied, feeling more awkward and uncomfortable around this nameless woman than I had before. Ain't that the truth? Hey, why don't you come by our house for lunch? And it's just over the hill. She pointed upward and followed to the hilltop where her finger was pointing. A sudden wind kicked up, making a flinch. And once I turned around, I noticed that the woman I just was chatting, she had completely vanished. At the time, I thought this was just some sort of creepy prank being played on me. You know, country folk wanting to get a good laugh on the city kid. I laughed nervously and took the edge, just to take the edge off. But I was utterly alone at the time. Nobody else was around me. Seeing that this woman wasn't going to reappear anytime soon, I continued trekking up the hill to continue what I came here to do. The walk up the steep hill gradually took my mind off the strange events from earlier. The ambiance of the nature took hold of me again, the soft sounds of bird songs and grass, the crunching under my feet filling my ears. The smell that I had smelled before had persisted and just continued to grow stronger. I came over the hill and was greeted by the sight that made my heart stop. Beads of sweat breaking out along my body from the sudden fear. A burnt-out husk of a house on one relatively flat patch of land beneath the other slope of the hill. The flames, whenever they came about, had actually reached my trees, or hadn't reached any trees, thankfully. I don't know why, but I started moving down the hill, getting closer and closer to the smoked out ruin to investigate it. I can't quite tell how long ago that this fire happened, but the freshness of the smell makes me think that it could have been more than a day or two. The flames hadn't spread too far from the structure, and whoever owned the place seemed to clear out all the grass that surrounded their home. Luckily, it could have set the whole place ablaze. When I reached the clearing and got a better look at the burnt out home that I had towed my shirt to my nose, I had to hold it there. Anything to block out the stench. I surveyed the ruin, pressed closer to it until I felt something loudly crunch underfoot. I pulled my foot back, and then a bone. A scorched human bone. This crackled under where I had just walked on. My eyes trailed up against my better judgment, coming to the rest of my collection of burnt human bones trapped beneath a layer of dirt and ash. One empty socket stared right at me, shook me to my core, and sent me into a staggering backward motion. I looked away, tried to clean the horrible sight from my mind, but as soon as I looked away, I saw another skeleton. This one was lighter and slightly shorter, and going by the anatomy, I think it was a woman's skeleton. And there, cradled in the female's lifeless bony arms were the small, scorched remains of a child's skeleton.